And we are here in April, so we are going to share you our top games in March 2023. And hello everyone, I'm Stella.
I'm Tarrant.
From Meeple University. Welcome to our third video of top games of the month. We are featuring 5 games each, and some may or may not overlap.
Seems like only 4 weeks ago we were doing this.
Well, because we are doing this monthly, Tarrant. Well, we are just back from Bali. How's everyone going? Hopefully you are doing something fun today. So we are going to back and forth share you our games from number 5 to number 1, except when it is overlapping.
Indeed, so this is, as usual, these are not necessarily new releases of the month we're talking about. These are new to us games. They may be from a couple months before, they could be from a couple of years before. It really depends on when we came by the game.
And these games, some of them might come through as we've been commissioned to do the games, whether in our channel here or in the Dice Tower. But this opinion is completely our opinions. Yes. So we don't get paid for this one, and it is entirely up to us to decide which games.
Indeed.
And without further ado, here is number 5 for Tarrant.
Alright, so this is my number 5. This went on to Kickstarter in March. It's Let's Go to Japan. It's by AEG and designed by Josh Wood. And this is it's an interesting little card drafting game. And it does something really that I haven't seen. I may have seen it once or twice, but it's really quite rare. So it's a clever little card drafter, very simple. You get cards, you choose one, you give some to your opponents, and you're creating a tableau of 18 cards. But it's a sequence tableau, and at the end of the game you'll run through that sequence from left to right in order to determine your score. And there are symbols you're collecting, there's objectives after every third card which combo off the symbols you've already collected, which makes the sequence quite important. You could load up on a lot of icons early and then score them, or you could load them up late but then you won't score them in objectives early on. And there's a really clever thematic element to it where you have cards from a Tokyo deck and cards from the Kyoto deck. And as you sequence them, you don't want to swap between cities too often because you have to take the train every time you do. And unless you're collecting train tokens, you're going to lose points for doing that. So there's a number of different ways of matching icons and bonuses for matching icons, which I haven't really seen before. So it kind of stands out as being just a little bit different.
Indeed.
It's very nice and thematic as well from a holiday
It's very
standpoint.
thematic. I love the photos. I love every single card. So some cards are double. I don't know what it is going to be in the final prototype. I don't think a lot of the rules will be different. I think the main rules will be the same. But I heard they have been unlocking some new cards. So this is going to be awesome cards. And this is not in the rulebook, but at the end of the game, you just share everyone how you spend each day in Japan from Monday to Saturday. That is awesome.
Yeah, so it's a very scoring takes quite a long time, but it's good fun to do so. So this is my number 5 for March.
So everyone, by the way, I'm just gonna quickly mention it here. Every single like, comments, subscribe if you like, optionally, would really helpful to us, helping us to get viewed and get recommended on YouTube. I mean, no one knows the secret of YouTube algorithm, right? So if you just want to say hey, just let us know that you're there. Let us know what you're doing. Please do that. Like, comments, and I would be so thrilled to see your comments in the comments. Comments in the comments. Continue.
That's where they belong.
That's it. And this is To Glory. So both games that we mentioned here has got exclamation mark for some reason, for no reason. This is prototype, and this is going to Kickstarter soon, and this is by Vesuvius Media. Vesuvius Media's previous game was Catapult Feud, And this is also similar. There is a dexterity element. As a pirate, you're going around the seas, collecting treasures, and knock opponents down to earn points. Doubloons, gold.
Indeed. So it's got little ships that have a lever mechanism inside, and you simply
It's
drop.
paper. Yeah, well, this is prototype anyway. By the way, again, as usual, if we have other videos for these games, we definitely will link them in the description below so you can check it out. So see if you have more, if you are interested, when we talk about it briefly, check it out to get more information about it.
Indeed. So yeah, it does have has these little boats with a lever in it. You drop some cubes in and you fire them off at your opponents, and it's got a tower that does that as well. And I think and a kraken as well. And I think what's quite interesting about this game, from a dexterity and warfare standpoint, is that like a real ship, you have to be passing by and pointing, parallel to the ship you're trying to fire at to actually be able to do it. So I think that element of the movement is something that you don't see that often in seafaring battle games. So it's quite clever in that way.
I reckon it is. And as I say, the video will show the components, prototype components. And like Catapult Feud, it's just so much fun. I feel like a kid again whenever I play that sort of game. It's like, obviously it's tactile because it has dexterity components, but it's just like going around trying to, do the cannon volley and then trying to knock opponent down or hit opponent's ships. It's just fun. And that's To Glory. Check out the campaign.
Number 4 for me in March is Hegemony. Lead your class to victory. So this was the big asymmetrical game that was, I believe, crowdfunded and then came out
recently.
A couple months ago. I think it was fulfilled.
And for me too. So this is also my number 4. Continue, Tarrant. I can't wait to say that. Sorry.
And it's a lot of thought has gone into putting together what is essentially the running of a country.
Running of a country in the game.
Yeah, so it's an asymmetrical game. You've got the working class who's just trying to get their workers into jobs, get wages, and then spend those wages on increasing their prosperity, which is how they get points. And they can go on strike and have demonstrations if they aren't getting enough wages and things like that. You've got the middle class who can do that, but they can also start up little small businesses that they run themselves. And so they also try to get prosperity. They've got an easier path to it, but they don't get points as quickly, so it kind of balances out. You've got the capitalists who are just trying to run companies. They have to hire people, but they can also trade on the open market, and they just get points for the money they earn. And then you've got the state who is trying to keep everyone about even, trying to gain legitimacy with everyone, has to manage the country's finances, also has a public sector. There's elections that can change all the policies. So there's a lot of edutainment content in here, I think.
And I know that the publisher or the designers, they actually study this before or in order to make the game. We have to also tell you that we have only been playing this for 4 players because I don't feel like playing less than 4 players. I feel like something will be missing. So we play 4 players and then, there's a recommended one and there's also the expansion that gives you an automa players. Yeah. But, it's just so much fun, I think, with 4 players. Did you back it? Have you heard of it? Have you received your Kickstarter fulfillment? So let us know what you think if you have played it. So this is a really fun game. It has got a little bit of learning curve. Tarrant spent 2 weeks to learn everything, put the notes down, and make sure every single person can be taught by Mr. Falcke. Thank you so much for doing that.
I think what I did like most here was because it felt like a simulation, maybe a little bit more so than a game. And that's partly because the state was kind of there, just king-making everyone into an even position. But it was very fun in that way.
Now it is number 3. Let's go to Japan. Well, I've talked about this already because it was Tarrant's number 5. It is truly remind me again, I'm talking about this again, truly remind me of me went to Japan. And then again, I would also recommend if you are planning to go to Japan, literally, you can't in real life plan your trip with this game. Every single card, but it's only obviously Japan, Tokyo and Kyoto. So the other ones you have to do it yourself, your hard work yourself.
You can have the go skiing expansion.
Yes. We didn't go skiing though. I don't know, I always feel I might break my bone if I go skiing. I've broken my bone twice in life, once the knee. That's how I met Tarrant. So it's not always bad, right? Second one on my toe. Anyways, I probably would go ski. If I ever go skiing, it would be somewhere close-ish to home. So just in case I break my bone, I don't have to travel so far. If I break my bone in Japan, then I have to travel all the way to Australia. Anyways, but this is about let's go to Japan, not breaking my bone, potentially not ever happening again. So every single card reminds me of Japan. Every single card, you go, oh my god, and this little text, flavor text, it's so amazing. As Tarrant mentioned earlier, it is a little bit unusual. You drop everything and then score at the end of the game. So if you are watching our playthrough, you'll be like, okay, well, what are they doing? They're just drafting. And then it all comes to life at the end of the game where we share our journey in Japan and score points. Really amazing game. It's prototype still, but really, really highly recommended.
And very potentially expandable. I do take note that it's called Let's Go and the sentence ends and then it says Japan because I can foresee some other countries potentially being created.
I am hoping there will be let's go to Australia or let's go to Indonesia. What would you like to see? Let's go to Eurovision? No, it's just not even a country.
I'd like to see let's go to Liechtenstein just to see what they can cram into 120 cards.
So explain to me about Liechtenstein. What? Liechtenstein.
It's an extremely small country.
You'd be like one.
It's got a train line with like 4 stations, so they could each be a card. Trains don't usually stop there though.
And where is this country lie? I'm not that great at my geography.
It lies twixt Switzerland and Austria.
So it could be let's go to Switzerland with that as expansion. How's that?
Oh, that's true.
Let's go to Japan.
My number 3 is a game which came out last year, I believe. We were a little bit slow in getting it to the table.
2-player game.
Yes, so this is Yosemite. It is a designed 2-player game. And it's a grid movement set collection type of game. So there's animals all over the grid, 5 different animals in 3 different colours. And when you take a movement, the animal tells you how you move, the colour tells you what bonus you get, and you have to use those to try to collect animals, fulfill contracts, collect tiles that combo with those contracts, although they take you some extra actions. There's a little tug of war track, so there's a few different things going on with ways to score points. 3 of the animal movements give you ways of disrupting the other player, moving them as part of the
bear,
action.
The snake, and whatever, I can't remember.
And the cougar.
Yeah.
So that, these are the sorts of things that you need to have in a great 2-player game. What push and pull types of mechanisms, ways that you can interfere with your opponent's plans, set things up. So it really comes together quite well. And it was I will say it was better than I expected from the rules. When I read the rules,
yes.
Contract fulfillment is not always my sort of thing. Movement, you always seem to have a lot of flexibility. But actually once playing it and seeing how you can disrupt your opponents and move them to places that they don't want to be, and how you can hedge against that by getting fish tiles, which kind of slow you down because they're not worth points directly, but they essentially let you counteract what your opponent's doing to mess you up. So lots of really clever elements in this game.
And I totally agree with Tarrant because this is my number 2, Yosemite. Welcome, Yosemite. I have been to Yosemite many years, probably like 7 years ago, and I would love to go back there. It was a bit cold when I went there. I would like to go there when it's not too cold to see things like spring or summer, something like that. So yes, I totally agree. 2-player game. We play a lot of 2 players, and this in particular, I honestly think when I read the rules as well, we both read the rules because we played this in Bali. So you were doing that when you were away, and I was doing it when I was in Bali, and I was like, how does that work? It's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, the rulebook, it's all like, it's just mechanic at the start, and then how you actually move is at the back. So it took me a while to arcade gel them together with the help of Tarrant.
I will say the first 2 things in the rulebook are like the things you do the least.
Yeah.
So it kind of puts you in the wrong frame of mind on what's actually important.
Yeah.
They're in the correct sequence, but they're not the things you do most often. So it took a little bit to get around that.
And the rule's actually not too hard once you know. As long as you remember all the 5 animals movement, that's also gets around the... I gotta have to think about it before I know exactly what animals do what. Yeah. But once you do it, oh my gosh, you need to, like, every single move could affect your next plan and the next plan and your opponent's plan. The tile you land, the things that you get, and you know, it's a set collection, contract fulfillment, I should say. So when you actually get that particular contract, like, you have to look at the opponents, okay, what do they have? Can I stuff their moves around or not? So it's very, very, it's kind of like open drafting, I guess, a bit of everything. So it's a very hate drafting as well. It's just amazing game.
It's not very hate drafting.
I think it is.
I still think it's
for me it is. Sorry, Tarrant.
I still think it's a relatively forgiving game compared with some from a few years ago. I put it there with Beer and Bread. I think they've got a similar level of, you can disrupt an opponent, but there's often still a reasonably good thing you can do. You
can sort of calculate what your opponent's going to move or go to almost. I mean, it's 5x5 grid. There's not a lot that you can unpredict. And my winning rates also, like, I hardly win on games, but my winning rate on this one is quite high compared to yours.
That's true.
Yeah, so probably, like, you need to do more hate draft rather than... Oh, actually, you know what? I remember at one point, though, you hate drafted, but then you spent too much effort to do that, and then you ignore something else.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're all right. Or maybe you hate draft too much and you forgot about it.
Maybe.
Anyways, he's recommended. This is number 2 for me.
All right, my number 2 for the month. This didn't qualify for yours because you've played it before, but I first played this in March. Stardew Valley, the board game.
It's been sitting on our shelf for like...
a few months, yeah.
I thought it's a year at least.
It might be a year.
No, yeah, more than 1 year.
For a long time.
Yeah, because we were planning to do it, and then I bought some costumes to do short and sweet. We still haven't done short and sweet. You meant to be Louis. I meant to be Robin. Well, if you have played the video games, this is like the board game.
Yeah.
You keep going, and I do the background sound.
Yeah, so I think, we did play this video game a lot through the pandemic. It pretty much got us through the lockdown times, and so there's a lot of familiarity in here, and that more than anything else really attracted me to the game.
Without spoiler though, so it doesn't actually tell you exactly how to get certain things, which we still haven't been able to recover the mermaid pendant. And Tarrant, good old Tarrant, refused to look at the tips. How to find it in the video game.
Yeah, because we have to...
But we've been stuck
no satisfaction if you don't...
We've been stuck in that one.
We haven't actually asked anyone out of the villages yet.
Oh, actually, yeah.
You got to do that before you can get engaged.
It's a bit hard, right? We're a couple. We play multiplayer, cooperative, split screen, and then I feel like, do I need to... I feel like cheating if I ask someone else out.
It is a bit of a weird feeling, isn't it?
I gave you some flowers. You never gave me flowers back.
I'm pretty sure I gave you flowers at some point, or maybe a chicken statue. Back to this. Back to the board game. Yes. So it's a cooperative game, fairly sandboxy like the video game, but you have to do a little bit of everything. You've got to generalize across all of the different types of things, do enough fishing, do enough mining, do enough everything. So it's all kind of there, it's all familiar. It's generally not the kind of cooperative game that I would go for, because there's a lot of role to resolve, and my types of co-ops, I like the game to throw something at me and then me to fight back with certainty, kind of like Pandemic. So it's not usually my sort of game, but because of the theme, it really attracts to me. I think with a different theme, this probably would have been lower down my list, but with, pardon me, with the Stardew Valley theme, the overall package, very enjoyable to me, and a good representation of the video game. So this is my number 2.
I also love this, but then again, it's not qualified because I played, well, technically it might be this month because I played it on Tabletopia a few years ago. But, you know, I already knew how it is, and the difference, the big difference from the board game and the video game for me is that the video game is like, so the video game, yeah. And then the board game, like, you have to do this, not day one, you have to do this. Yeah, I know that some people play it like that in the video games as well, and I don't blame them. Like, okay, day 1 you have to go there, day 3 you need to give person to this person, your villagers, you want to befriend them easily. But, you know, that's a big difference. It's like easygoing in the video game, or especially Johnny Ofami here, who's Tarrant's character.
Yep.
Johnny Ofami. Hang on, Johnny Ofami?
Yeah, it was meant to be
yes.
Johnny O'Farmington, but the text box wasn't long enough. So it just clipped my name.
Yeah, so I play Tarrant's way because obviously we play together. I can't really like, oh, I can look at the instruction, okay, day 1 you have to do this, like, yeah.
Anyhow, there we go.
Yes, it's a great game. Have you played it? Let us know if you enjoy it. If you play the video games, maybe, you know what? Do we want to ask the audience how to get the Mermaid's Pendant?
No.
Aww. Okay then.
Don't read the comments. They'll tell you anyway.
No, I won't. Maybe. I have to read the comments. I love the comments. Yes, please comments. Not with the spoiler. On to the next game. And this is our join again, number 1, Marvel Age of Heroes. Ta-da!
Yes.
Lords of Waterdeep 2.0.
Yes, very much so. So one of the same designers of Lords of Waterdeep, and it really did have that feeling. You know, it wasn't clear to me initially before playing, but then as I played and saw the way it panned out, yeah, it is very much a new version of Lords of Waterdeep with an X-Men theme.
And
sorry.
No, there you go.
In that there are contracts to fulfill, there are simple action spaces to go and get stuff, and every round some new action spaces are going to come out. Whoever owns that action space will get a bonus if someone else uses it, but it essentially opens up the suite of actions as the game goes on. And it means that every game is going to evolve differently, same as it does in Lords of Waterdeep. There are some key turn order considerations that you've got to be careful about, because unlike Lords of Waterdeep, the contracts are there on the board as action spaces. So it's first come, first serve, essentially completing them from a common market rather than gaining them and completing them.
We're quite in sync this month as well. Age of Heroes. I mean, come on, it's lots of Waterdeep with a lot more replayability. I mean, lots of Waterdeeps has already got lots of great replayabilities with the building, and this is even more because the cards are a lot. You only use some amount of cards on the play. I mean, the action is probably quite similar, but the variations, and even like it has got a campaign, it has different enemies that basically is the contract fulfillment bit. Different enemies, you give up resources. It's like different style. Just so fun. And plus the team. So you team up, like most players are playing 2 different characters of X-Men, but some play 1. And they have slight asymmetric powers.
Yes, so that's in the form of, that's one thing that's kind of new. They're called evolution cards. And you'll have a couple for one of your X-Men and a couple for the other. Like there's a team that's the classic Wolverine Jubilee team up. You have a number of Wolverine meeples, a number of Jubilee meeples, and then as you get these evolution upgrades, those meeples start to specialize in different areas. And there's a whole, small deck of those that you can choose from as well.
And
Give yourself extra options.
Yes, and it scales up and down. So if you play 2 players, you say control 6 workers, while if you playing 4 players, you only control 3 or something like that.
What I quite liked about this, and what I think made it stand apart from Lords of Waterdeep, and indeed a lot of other worker placement games, is it had that really fast and loose Whistle Mountain vibe about it. And one of the things that always stood out with Whistle Mountain is that when something ends up on the board that you can exploit, you just go and exploit it while it's there, and you get a bunch of points out of it.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
there are cards here that are going to give you objective, or are going to give you points, usually based on where you've placed your other workers. And if you can get them in a good place, then you can really work those for points as well. And they'll give you big chunks of points on top of just the general contract fulfillment side of things.
Absolutely.
And that was a nice feature. And I said fast and loose before. It really feels like a fast and loose sort of game at times. There's points flying around everywhere, big, high-scoring points. And yet there's also some really intricate decisions to be made and important timing decisions to be made. Sometimes you really need to get in before other players. First time we played, I made one slight miscalculation on the final round and lost by like 30 points.
Oops. And the first few rounds, usually it's quite obvious where you want to go, and there aren't lots of spaces yet because you haven't played the cards to create the worker placement space. But after that, just like plenty of stuff, plenty of places to go.
Yes. I do like the theme as the X-Men. For me, Marvel was X-Men growing up. Marvel wasn't Avengers for me. X-Men was what I knew.
They haven't been out, like the movies haven't been out for a while. In the meantime, you should, fine. That's fine.
That's just, they're the characters I knew growing up.
I know. Yeah, I love the new Marvel, the Avengers. Love them. Do you love Avengers or X-Men? That's the question of the day. Do you prefer X-Men like Tarrant for Marvels, or do you prefer the Avengers, or maybe you just a DC type of person, which is fine, totally fine. I also enjoy DC. Yes, this is just the feel-good game where you build your things, you're trying to maximize your turn, trying to get the most points, and sometimes, like as Tarrant said, his mistake, one single little thing counts, worth 30 points.
I did.
Yeah, so that is Marvel Age of Heroes. Any of these games that you are interested, let us know. Any of these games is your favorite, let us know. And more importantly, what is your top game or games of March 2023? Please let us know in the comments. As I say, I would love to see your comments. I would get back to you as soon as I can. It's usually me, not Tarrant. So if you want to give tips for Stardew Valley, just put in a comment. I won't tell Tarrant.
But you'll get suspiciously knowledgeable.
Maybe. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you can like, comments, we'd be really grateful. And subscribe if you like. And hopefully we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.